Russell Wilson one offseason because Russell Wilson is not fixable. The Denver Broncos in last place once again. Third place, Las Vegas Raiders. They lost 5 games last year. They led by 7 or more points. They lost 3 games. They led by 17.
Josh Jacobs is a
points.
beast, too.
I think some of that will be better, and I do think that there is not a massive drop-off from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo, assuming Jimmy stays healthy, which is tough, but it is a bit of a drop-off. That's why they don't take more of a leap, and I don't trust the head coach that much. Sorry on that one, Coach, that the Raiders are in third place. Second place, same as last year. In fact, this whole division, same as last year. The Los Angeles Chargers. A lot of talent.
Absolutely not a single surprise
every single year, seemingly at an unfair rate. But the biggest thing working against the Chargers is something they did to themselves and they have no way to fix. They have 0 home games. And when I think that is a margin that is almost impossible to make up. When half your games are true road games, about 4 of them are neutral site, and then 4 of them are the most demoralizing type possible, which is the home road game when you're in a silent count. So for those reasons, I think they have a ceiling that some of the other teams in the AFC don't have. And then, of course,
that is crazy.
The 90s Bulls, as I said 2 weeks ago, the Kansas City Chiefs. There are only 2 really interesting questions with the Chiefs this year. The first one is, this team that has won 8 consecutive games, will they be 13-0 when they head to New England?
Let's go.
Trying to beat the New England record of 21 straight victories. It would be a 22nd straight victory on national television in New England. Then if they do that,
we'll be there.
the only we'll be there, no problem. You'll be rooting for the Patriots and I'll be rooting for the Chiefs. The only other question, Brou, is of course, can they be
crazy.
The first team ever to go 20-0? Wow. I think they maybe can, but we'll discuss that more later. Go ahead. Oh, don't sigh, Coach. Coach, don't sigh. Let Brou go.
At the bit.
I don't know about 20-0.
But
the Chiefs are insanely good.
I got number 4 as the Raiders.
Last year they were rebuilding.
And look, they do have talent. They had talent last year, though. All right, they not only did they had made the playoffs, they had Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones.
Okay.
And do we have that picture? But anyway, and they lose. What, they win 6-7 games last year? So they got worse. I look, Jimmy G.
Dusty the graphic.
Dusty.
How are they last? How are they last?
I know Jimmy G is in the.
I don't trust Josh McDaniels.
He's in the top 6.
Nice coordinator. But
for
the
winning
record
percentage
speaks for itself.
ever.
Like I said, last year they added talent and got worse. I think they're going to struggle with him, and this will probably be his last year there. Yikes. And then Jimmy G, he has trouble staying healthy. That's all I say. All right, at number 3, Denver. This is a Sean Payton pick. This is trust in Sean Payton. I do think he'll get better stuff out of Russ.
These are your teams.
I keep it objective. I'm the most objective guy up here. So
yeah, that's the thing.
That's all I'm doing. I'd love for Russ to have a resurrection. I do think he'll play better.
And Jerry Jeudy just got injured too. That's just like
this year and in the future. But he's playing for his legacy.
The number one's going to be Sutton.
We talked about it. Maybe that certain Hall
who
of
hasn't been the
Famer
same in
that we all thought
6 years
maybe
or so.
it's not so certain anymore. So I think he'll play well, but you said it. The receivers are already banged up. Yep. Defense will be strong. Run game will be strong. I think they can win 7 games. All right, at number 2, but not in the playoffs.
Wow.
The Chargers. And you talked a lot about it, Nick. They don't have a home field. And we know how tough the AFC is. Their division, even I think those games.
They need to do something about that.
Will still be tough games, and no home field advantage. The defense has not been good under Staley, even though that's supposed to be his bread and butter. I think they'll be better. Obviously, you hope Joey Bosa's healthier.
Like the Clippers.
But I think the defense is going to be their Achilles heel, and then injuries.
Of course,
the second team in the city.
Core, but will they stay healthy? And obviously, the Chiefs at number 1. But I gotta say this.
What?
Bad vibes.
You think?
Hold on. Travis Kelce's talking about, I don't make as much money as I should.
No, he
couched it nicely, but he put it out there. Did he have to put it out there? He didn't have to put it out there. And Chris Jones, where's Chris Jones?
Well, Chris Jones isn't there.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. They got too much talent. I'm just saying the vibes are bothering me a little bit.
Yeah, the Chris Jones vibes are not impeccable.
In Vanity Fair, and he was loving it.
Yeah.
He was dressed in a fur coat next to a Ford Bronco from the 70s. He loved it.
Okay.
Coach, let's look at consecutive division titles. America's team obviously has the record, but the Chiefs getting close. What could derail the Chiefs that we're all fans of, at least.
Okay, stop it.
What?
Can you just stop it? You can't. Your son is allowed to be a Chiefs fan. You are not.
There's a lot of things that could potentially derail this team. And you could start with the 2 brand new offensive tackles, so we got to see how that works out. Although I didn't think that was a real strength of the team last year. You've got to have that continuity on the offensive line, and they've got to build that chemistry. They've got a very young receiving core. They've only got Marquez Valdez-Scantling back in terms of significant experience. And then can Kadarius Toney stay healthy? So that's one aspect too.
They were all rookies last year.
And then when you look at the defensive line with no Chris Jones,
and they won the Super Bowl.
Starters on opening day, I think, have a combined 29
Don't you just get better from that?
179 games. So that's like about a 1/10 of a sack a game. So that's what you're talking about.
They got rid of Tyreek Hill, and everybody said they were going
to
not be the same.
I'm not very good at pronouncing his name. The other,
which is what I was saying earlier on the on Undisputed, because
so you're talking
Skip
about
had
line that's going to
Joe Burrow over Mahomes. And it's like, if you take Jamar Chase away from Joe Burrow,
you add fatigue, and what I mean by fatigue,
I'm sure they're still good, but
in winning back-to-back Super Bowls, which has
Mahomes is on another level. He's winning Super Bowls.
The reason it's so hard is because you've got to be up every single week, and it gets harder and harder each consecutive game. And can you maintain that? And Kansas City hasn't been able to do that, and there's probably a good reason for because it's really hard to do.
It's just not true, though. Hold on. Wait a second. They have had, just wait one moment.
You asked why, and I love the vibe element to it.
Hold on, just that's
when you got to hold out, when
one of your best players,
you're arguably definitely your
he's a great player,
defensive player,
and he'll be back. He told us he'll be back at the latest by week 8. And we went through the schedule. There's no losses before then unless you're going to pick them to lose to the Prince that was promised.
So what he's saying is don't book your ticket to New England because that game won't matter.
No. What I am saying very clearly is that we need Chris Jones desperately for the postseason. He will be back for the postseason. That's first of all. Second of all, the last time the Chiefs were Super Bowl champions, they were 14-1 and rested people in the final week of the year. Now, in the Super Bowl, they got their butts kicked. And if we think that's because they, for some vibes reason or a hangover, no, that wasn't why. It was because they had 5 new offensive linemen, and credit to the Brady and the Bucks for beating them. But the idea that this team, there is any concern that having won the Super Bowl, they won't rise to the occasion. There is no evidence of that. And you're right, they don't have a lot of great receivers coming back, except for a couple that Coach didn't mention, who scored touchdowns in the Super Bowl. So
Tony's got to stay healthy.
What I'm saying,
he's going to be back week 1.
And with Tony, he's been up and down in terms of from an injury perspective. Right. And those other young guys have to prove they can do it consistently. Now, they've got the advantage of having Patrick Mahomes, but we asked what could derail it.
Pretty big advantage.
If that doesn't develop the way they hope it develops, that's something that potentially is an issue. And 2 new offensive linemen are 2 new offensive linemen, and hopefully it's an upgrade. Hopefully it's an upgrade, but there's a chemistry component to the offensive line if it's going to be successful at a high level.
Orlando Brown Jr. is pretty good. I know you're down on him, but
both Brou and Nick have the Broncos and the Raiders missing the playoffs. A healthy Jimmy G has never missed the playoffs. And Sean Payton has basically said his Broncos are a playoff team. He also said no bucket hats. Coach, who's more likely to be playoff bound? Jimmy G, who Brou abandoned, or Russ?
Or the Raiders?
Well, as much as Nick killed Minnesota yesterday for winning close games and being resilient and giving them no credit for that, now we're also not going to take into account the fact that the Raiders lost the way that they did last year, and the odds of that happening are also pretty slim as well.
That's why I don't have them in last place.
So they're both slim, and they did win 6 games last year, and they broke an NFL record for losing double-digit losses. That's not going to happen again. This is a second year in the defensive system. That should be much better. Jimmy G should be an upgrade over Derek Carr.
Really?
And here's where I'm going with this is he has a relationship with Josh. He understands the system. They're going to be able to do things that they couldn't do with Derek Carr from a system perspective, which should make them more effective offensively than they were last year, just from a scheme perspective. Now, if he can stay healthy, which we all know is a gigantic if. But if that's the case, they should be a lot more productive and a lot more successful than they were last season. I agree with you.
Brou, I think you made a strategic error.
You think the Raiders are making the playoffs?
All his teams and his players?
You're the Jimmy G guy. He just gave you a great
You are the Jimmy G guy.
Not anymore.
Not over yet.
He'll probably get hurt, unfortunately.
I got Devontae.
All right, let's turn our attention to the
Josh
AFC
Jacobs.
South.
It's a coronation.
Okay. Trevor Lawrence
Everyone agrees.
And the Jags are the darlings of the league. Titans lost 7 in a row to close out last year, but do have D-Hop now, and 2 new faces, Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud. So, Nick, who do you got?
All right, I'll go very quick here. Houston's going to finish last. Luckily for them, they don't have their own pick because their GM, who is 6-26-1 since coming over from New England, who said today, we can't be judged on our record. It's about the process. I don't know what they're doing there, but they really wanted Will Anderson. I like DeMeco Ryans, but he is in for a hell of a season. And by the way, if they don't win at home against Indy in week 2, they could be winless well past Halloween. Speaking of
and I like Nick a lot personally, but he certainly judged the previous 2 head coaches by that.
Yeah, he's on his 3rd head coach. That's absolutely right. He's on his 3rd head coach. He's 6-26-1. Got to judge us on our process. Well, your process was you traded away next year's first-round pick, which is going to be a top 4 pick. I don't understand it. I said I'd go quick. Sorry, I got a little worked up there. Indy. I'm excited to watch Anthony Richardson. I think Shane Steichen could be quite good. I don't know what they're doing with Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what the latest Jim Irsay tweet's going to be. I have them in 3rd place. They'd be in last place.
Well, Jonathan Taylor's missing the first 4 games.
The question is, do they pull the plug on Ryan Tannehill? Malik Willis didn't look close to ready. Now they drafted Will Levis. Right. They know they eventually need to go and rebuild. But is Vrabel too good of a coach for them to ever really fully bottom out? I think Vrabel is a great head coach, a truly great head coach, but I don't trust the team. And then, of course, the coronation, the prince who was promised year 2, Peyton, or year 3, for him, just like Peyton Manning 2.0, led the league in touchdowns, led the league in yards in year 3 as the defending AFC South champion. I see something similar happening for the prince. And while all you guys mocked me all last year and all this year, I would imagine every single person at this table is picking the Jags to win that division and go back to the playoffs. Brou, I'm excited to see your playoff picks.
At number 4, you got that wrong. It'll be the Colts.
Okay.
All right, I like Anthony Richardson, but he's going to be up and down. He can run the football. What was he, 6-17?
Yeah, he might not be like.
I mean, just
they're going to be bad.
It's going to be a roller coaster.
But I do think they
ride for
could
him
be
throwing
better than the
football,
Colts.
But I think maybe a bright future. Jonathan Taylor, we know what's going on with that. As far as
Jonathan Taylor
the
is
first
not
4 games.
happy.
At number 3, I got Houston. Look, DeMeco Ryans. I like Will Anderson. You know, C.J. Stroud, I guess if he's going to be the quarterback.
They got Singletary, too, who wasn't like horrible for Buffalo.
Obviously, as a rookie, he'll have his ups and downs. But they're coming off 3 horrible years. I think the future is brighter, and I think they can finish 3rd. At number 2, we've got the Titans. Like you said, Vrabel, great coach.
King Henry.
Derrick Henry, he didn't look spent last year. He didn't look like he was washed, so he'll still do his thing. The only thing I don't like about Trevor Lawrence
There's nothing.
is that Nick is so obnoxious about him and picked him early. I like Trevor Lawrence.
Stop, bro.
But
What are you doing
Nick
today?
goes so overboard on him with the wins.
We've all
and
known
the
it. Bru's a big
trumpets, the
Trevor
bugle
Lawrence guy.
boys,
Doesn't
and all
believe
that.
in Jimmy G.
It's a weak division, too. It's a weak division. But
It's a very
I
weak
expect
division.
Trevor to have a
Coach,
good
can I show you something, a stat? Because we're filled with a lot of propaganda on this show.
A ton.
Here's
Same
how
exact
Trevor
order as the last
Lawrence's
list.
year went last year. You would think it was just perfect the whole year. Well, through weeks 1 through 8, it was mediocre. Then he caught fire, beat the Cowboys on national television. Everybody watched it and said, wow, this guy's great. And then week 16, through his playoff games, he threw 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, including 4 interceptions in the first half of 1 playoff game.
That means in the other 5 games, he threw 2. Is what that would be.
Just adding it up. Coach, is the hype for Trevor Lawrence justified or a little too much?
Yeah, like bring in the guys that play the flutes or whatever they play.
The Royal Trumpeters.
Is over
Hey,
the
flutes.
top and way too early. And look at his season last year. He had a 5-game losing streak at the beginning of the season. He did have a 5-game winning streak at the end of the season.
Yeah, it was his
but
first year with a new
wasn't
coach,
he was
though.
prolific
It wasn't
in terms of interceptions or in terms of touchdowns. He had 8 touchdowns and 2
A-hole.
interceptions, but much better.
Sure.
And then now he enters the
kicking
96
people.
quarterback rating. You go into the playoffs, and he's got 2 games with a
Cheating
70
on his wife.
and a 74 quarterback rating.
Hold on.
So he's 25 points
so
lower
ridiculous.
than he was in the regular
Okay.
season. So we're going to kill Josh Allen for being up and down. We're going to coronate. We're going to coronate
No.
this guy. And listen,
Josh Allen is talking
Mangini
about like
keeps
he's the best or the
receipts
second
of
best
Nick's
quarterback
takes in his
football.
head.
Trevor Lawrence, folks, on this show, we're saying he's not as good as Mac Jones. He might be a bust. And if we are not going to act as if for any other player in the league, we would talk about the resiliency in playing the worst half of football of your life, being down 4 scores in your first ever playoff game and leading a comeback like we saw. Nobody ever says when the 28-3
down
comeback
all the
for
scores
Brady.
because of how
He didn't
poorly he
throw 4
played.
Right.
The 28-3 comeback,
interceptions.
no one ever says, well, it would have been just 21-3. We didn't throw that pick 6. How impressive is it? No.
Through 4, I'm sure we would mention.
It's true.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Listen, guys, I'm happy. I thought after last year, the Trevor Lawrence thing wouldn't be that good of a topic on the show because everyone would have literally bent the knee as you did when the trumpeters came. And then we would.
He had trumpeters for Carson Wentz. He had trumpeters
No,
for Dak
I did not
Prescott.
have.
He had trumpeters for Baker
Carson
Mayfield.
Wentz. That is
It
not
doesn't
true.
matter who it is.
None of
He's
it's
got a
true.
trumpeter for
Coach,
him.
that is the record does not reflect.
They're in the green room right now.
Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence and
Anthony
Caleb
Richards,
Williams.
bring out the trumpeters.
That's
Joe Burrow back at practice and a fresh episode of
Hey, yo, he needs to start week 1.